What's up guys, welcome back to the Utah Airguns channel. Today we are talking about something that we don't normally talk about, and that is spotting scopes or spotter systems, whatever you want to call it. And the one I chose to highlight is pretty cool. It's the Nightforce CFS or Configurable Field Spotter. What makes this spotting scope unique is one, its footprint. It's a little bit more compact. It's kind of built like just a normal scope would be. But what makes it more unique is the chassis system that it comes with, or the cage, or whatever you want to call it. It adds a lot of modularity that you can see we've utilized. And we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into why you would have a system like this, why you would want a spotting scope with these kind of extra toys on it. So we're going to jump into some of that right now. First things first, let's talk about the spotting scope itself. So the magnification range is a 6 to 36, so it's kind of a mid-range magnification as far as spotting scopes go. A lot of them will be like a 12 to 40 or a 20 to 60. This one kind of keeps it in that mid-range, also gives you a little bit more field of view. It has both of the controls right here, they're right up front. The rear one is zoom and the front one is your focus. It's kind of got the same Nightforce knurling, but it's rubberized, so it's nice and comfortable, super smooth. It has a couple different reticle options. Now, why would you want a reticle in a spotting scope? One, it was designed for more tactical applications, you know, spotting, observation, giving corrections, making measurements. But a civilian like me, an air gunner like you guys, there's lots of applications to have a reticle in your spotting scope, because in competition and when you're shooting with friends, being able to give accurate corrections, even when you're just zeroing your gun. So if I have a mil reticle in my spotting scope and your friend is zeroing his mil reticle on his air rifle, you can be looking at the same target, and since you have both essentially the same ruler in your scope, the same measuring device, when he shoots, you can zoom in a little bit more than he can, depending on what scope he's using, and use that reticle to give him an exact correction. So, you know, you don't spend 20 shots zeroing your rifle. So you can say, oh, you're 1.2 mils left and 0.6 mils low, and he can go in and make that exact adjustment in his scope and be dead center in a matter of 2 or 3 rounds, rather than making guesses, you know, say you're an inch left, or you're 2 inches low, or you're just low. So reticles are super useful when, you know, zeroing, shooting, whatever. Glass quality on this is attacker level, so it's their highest glass quality. It's obviously got a much fatter tube than your normal, like a 7 to 35 attacker. It's not a 34 mil tube. This is probably closer to a 40 mil tube. So light transmission is going to be super smooth. So let's jump into the accessories that we have on this spotter. So the cool thing about this spotter is when you buy it, this cage system is detachable. So if you're not going to run the big cage on it, if you want it to keep it lightweight and compact, it's easily removed and you don't have to deal with any of that. But if you want to have kind of an all-in-one ballistic spotter system like we've built out here, you can do that. It's got a bunch of M-lock slots on here. It comes with a couple pick rails. And so what we've added here on top is the Vortex Impact 4000. So if you're not familiar with this, it is a ballistic laser rangefinder. It's very similar to the Element rangefinding module, so same setup. So what you'll do is you'll mount this. It has a visible laser. You'll zero the laser to the reticle, which is basically in the center of the spotting scope, so that when I'm looking at something, spotting something, I can use the wireless switch that it comes with, lays it, and then I'll get a distance and an exact firing solution depending on what ballistic profile I have loaded into here. Now, you're probably curious as to why we have a ballistic rangefinder and a Kestrel on here as well. Now, the Kestrel also gives us ballistics using applied ballistics, but it's also a weather station that has a few more sensors than the Impact 4000 does. And I found that the Kestrel kind of acclimates itself faster than the sensors on the Impact 4000 does. So you kind of have an all-in-one weather station ballistic system that you can just, you know, what I found is really useful is at matches when I'm spotting or anything. I just have one system. This is on my tripod. I can just pick this up and move to the next stage without having to gather everything up, without having to, you know, check, I've got this, I got my rangefinder. It's just all ready to go. And it's really easy when we're also trying to get a super accurate range, because you can zero this very accurately to the reticle, so that when you're trying to laze very small targets, if it's a You know, if it's a little 3-inch gong on a T-post, you can laser it much more accurately with this than you would a handheld laser rangefinder or stuff like that, just because you're not shaking and you know that beam is zeroed very precisely to the reticle in the spotter. So you can just add that little bit of precision when you're trying to get a super accurate range. When you're riding a course of fire, or, you know, when you're at a high level match, you want to make sure that your data is perfect. The other accessory we've got on here is from Badger Ordnance. It's their little K5 Kestrel holster, whatever you want to call it. It attaches by the pick rail. It's got a little kind of wing nut in here. I just wrapped my lanyard around it, but it's a really affordable way to be able to have your Kestrel act as kind of a HUD, a heads-up display, whether you're running it on a spotting scope or whatever system you want to attach your Kestrel to. And there's other ways that we've built this out before. One other thing that I didn't have time to put on here is a red dot. And you're probably wondering why you'd want a red dot on a spotting scope. Just like the laser, I would zero that red dot to the center of my reticle, kind of a parallel zero, so that if I want to get on target on something really quickly and I don't want to have to, you know, zoom all the way out, use that wide field of view, find the target, zoom in, I can stay on that high magnification and I can just look through my red dot, put that dot on whatever I'm trying to find. You know, if I'm trying to find a little piece of steel that's 900 yards away, or a prairie dog that's 500 yards away, I just put that on there and look in the scope and it's on. So it's just a very rapid way of finding your target. And we'll do that later on. But this is a really, really cool system. A lot of other spotting scopes don't come with a chassis system, or if they do, well, they obviously don't come with a chassis system. It's an aftermarket thing that can get really expensive really fast, but Nightforce did a really cool thing by putting it all into one, and they did it really well. Some of the other systems are a lot more bulky. They're not as ideal for attaching stuff like this, but I'm a huge fan of how Nightforce put this together. So guys, now we're gonna go up in the mountains and just get a little time on this system. We're just gonna test the glass clarity. We're gonna look into some shadows. It's a really nice day outside, but that's one thing that I like to do when I'm testing new optics, is look really far and look under trees, stuff like that, because that's where really good glass has the edge into looking in the low light when it's not so low light. So that sharper contrast, that better light transmission is going to come into play when you're looking into the harder to reach areas. And we're going to play with like the weather system, the laser on here. We're going to show how all that would kind of be one cohesive system for, you know, ballistic spotting and competition or whatever you want to do. So let's go up in the mountains real quick. All right guys, we've got it set up how I would if I was shooting in this situation. I'd be using the laser as kind of my active laser rangefinder, and I would also be using it for if there's any higher or lower angle shots, because I can move that and it's going to take into the angle. And then on my Kestrel, I'm running weather. I can open this up and get a good wind reading, but then I have it open to the target card section. So it's just giving me my data every 20 yards so I can reference it quickly, or if I have a HUD transmitting to the HUD on my gun or something like that. So I can be getting quicker dope from here and then a lot more specific data from the rangefinder. And then in the spotter itself, I'm looking at a cliff face that is 1914 or 1900 yards away. You can see into some shadows under some pine trees, into the shadow of the cliff, and it's still super clear. So let's do that right now. We're looking almost 2,000 yards. You can see great detail over there. If there were to be like any animals, deer, elk, sheep over there, you'd be able to see and identify and even count the points on their antlers. That should give you a pretty good idea of the clarity. It's windy and it's starting to warm up, so you'll see kind of that wavy mirageness that you get when you look over longer distances, but super clear. The reticle is very crisp, very usable. It's in the lower 1/3, which is what I prefer in reticles in spotters. If you don't want to use this for just doing corrections, and if you're going to be out, you know, just looking for animals, you have a lot more unobstructed view. And then when you do want to use that reticle for corrections or measurements, you have that in the lower third. It's very good edge-to-edge clarity. So now we're going to take a look at some of the features that we have attached to the chassis here. We've got the Kestrel and the Vortex Impact 4000. So right now I have it in just the wind setting, and we can face it into the wind. One little trick that I like to do with the lanyard, which is why I always keep the lanyard on instead of taking it off, is you can kind of use it as a windsock. It's a little bit heavier right now, but it'll give you a lot better idea of where the wind's coming from. So it's kind of coming in this direction, so I would change it to get a lot more accurate wind reading, and it's dying down now. But then you can also go and scroll through all of the different weather sensors that it's picking up: pressure, barometric, altitude, density, altitude, and then back to wind speed. So you have a pretty powerful little weather station, and then you have a really accurate, powerful laser rangefinder that's also taking in some environmentals and then giving you a firing solution as well. It's a very impressive little package, and I'm a big fan. I might have to pick one up. All right, guys, so that's a little bit of a deep dive into the Nightforce CFS, the Configurable Field Spotter, and I'm a big fan. Super clear, great, small, compact package. The chassis is modular. You can obviously attach a lot of cool gadgets to it and have a pretty sick little spotting ballistic weather station. So let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you like videos like this, if you want to see more very specific product breakdowns. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.